If you knew me before, you wouldn't even look my way. If I had the nerve to speak, you wouldn't hear what I say. Time has come and gone so fast, we're not who we used to be.
Welcome back to Sullivan's Unheard Voices. I'm here with Steimy. Steimy, everybody tells me that you are one of the best sound guys in all of Portland because of how you're able to sort of master the sound. And I have always wanted to talk to a sound guy about that kind of stuff because I don't think people fully appreciate just how much work a sound person is. And so how did you get started in sort of like that engineering, the sound sort of side of music?
I actually got started. One of the first bands I worked with, I was in a bar and minding my own business, dancing with my wife, having a good time. And they're like, dude, how would you like to run lights for us? We'll buy you beers. And I'm like, I'm not here to work. I'm here to party. Yeah. So I started doing lighting for them. And then I ended up buying some lighting to do lighting for them. And then they bought a actual mixer and a snake and the whole bit to actually have something to run sound with. And they stuck me on that, and it just ballooned from there.
Because like a lot of people are under this misconception, and I was kind of one of them before I started sort of getting into music, is that a sound person's only job is to get the sound coming out of the speakers towards the audience. That's only a portion of what live sound is.
Yes, it is.
So tell us a little bit more about like what's involved with getting a good sound for a band.
Well, it depends on what level you're at. When you're at that level where I was, you're running all the monitors for the band. You're making them to where they can hear themselves sound good. And if they can hear themselves sound good, that's a big plus because then you could make them sound good out front. But yeah, you have all that equipment to set up. You have to get the monitors correct. And then you work on the house. And if the house is boomy, if it's got a horrible sound to it, you have to bend and twist the will of the PA to maybe kind of work with it. And sometimes that doesn't always work.
And when you're talking about monitors, you're talking about the speakers that are on the stage that face the musicians, right?
Yes.
And so like each musician wants their levels at a different level, if you will, right?
Yes. In the old days, we had one mix and everybody shared the same mix, and whatever this guy wanted and this guy wanted, it didn't matter. Everybody got the same thing. Now, as levels go up, everybody has their own separate mix, and everybody can have their mix exactly how they want it. So you have 4 different people on stage, for example, and they all want something a little bit different. And you just do it for them. That's your job, is to make them happy so they can do their job.
Because it's so much of, and I think that's the piece that a lot of people may not understand, right, is how important the sound engineer part is in order for the live performance. Because if your performers are a little off because they're not vibing something with the sound, or it actually, you can carry that into the performance itself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can tell when a band is happy on stage and when things aren't going right. And it works the same out front. If everything's going smooth, I'm relaxed. I'm just smiling and just doing what I'm doing. If things aren't going smooth, if there's issues and problems and things of that sort, yeah, then all of a sudden I'm like just shaking and trying to figure out, okay, I could do this. I got to get this right. I just need to narrow everything down and figure out where I need to do it. And yeah, sometimes it can be rough.
And the other thing too that I appreciate more than anything else is when you're doing a live event, it's never the same twice. Even with the same gear, the same setup, you never know what's going to happen. And it's never the same thing twice.
I tell people that are using in-ear monitoring, which is a nice thing now for me, because a lot of people, when they're doing in-ear monitoring, they have their own system for their monitors. And I no longer have to deal with that. I just do front of house. Great for me. But yeah, in that situation, when you have everybody doing their own monitoring, it's a whole new ballgame.
And that's got to be fascinating. Because if they're doing their own monitoring, are they doing it like through their phone?
Yeah. Their phone, a tablet, anything. Yeah. They could get into the system and just grab their phone and dial in whatever they want and make their mix the way they want it. If they don't have that option, then they come to me and I dial it in for them. So I end up still doing monitors, but it's so much easier because you don't have any feedback issues. You don't have weird reflections coming back. It's just their headphones. So it's a much easier monitoring system to set up, to run, and work. And a lot of musicians will tell you after the first few days of using it how much they hate it. And after a couple of weeks, they'll be like, I could never imagine using anything else.
Yeah.
It's like everything else. You got to get used to it.
Yeah, because I would imagine it's hard to hear. Like, I hate my own voice. So, like, I hate listening back. And so, like, I could imagine, like, if I had my own voice all the time in my headphones, I would be like, "Urgh."
Yeah, when I'm testing mics and stuff, I hear my voice and it's like, really? You sound like I don't sound like that in my head.
Right?
Yeah. We all sound different in our head.
And I know a lot of musicians who actually hate the sound of their own voice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, you sound like an angel. Like, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, everybody's their own worst critic.
Yeah.
I'm my own worst critic. No matter how good I make a band sound, I still think it could be better.
And one of the things that I've always been curious about is because if you're looking at a board and all of that stuff and you see like the things like the gain and all of this stuff, like what exactly are you getting when you increase or decrease the gain, if you speak, so to speak?
Okay. If you think of it like a faucet, okay, back where you get your water from the water company, they have a big valve they turn on. That's the gain. At your house, you have the fader, which that's your turn on and turn off for that water pressure. And we're talking basically water pressure, sound pressure. It's what's coming through those lines. And if you have too much gain, no matter where you put that fader, you're going to have issues. You have to know, like on my particular board, there's a certain amount of gain you can get away with.
Yeah.
Anything more than that, and it's just going to cause you problems. So gain is the very first line of defense in making sure you get it right. If you get that gain stage right, everything beyond that becomes easier.
Okay. And so as a basis, like if you're looking at the color thing,
yeah,
you want to stay out of the red, obviously.
Well, yeah.
But is the goal to stay out of the yellow completely?
It depends on the mixer. Some mixers they sound so much better when you're pushing them right to the very edge. They sound wonderful. And if you give them less, they just don't have that bump. They just don't have, it's a whole different thing. Where other mixers, you want to stay below yellow and then they'll sound good. Everything is different. So you can't just rely on one set of circumstances. You have to use circumstances for what you're working with.
And you never really know what you're working with until you get to the venue.
Yeah, I have my own equipment, but
Right.
There are times when I use other people's equipment. And a friend of mine is out touring right now with a band. And every day on Facebook, he would post, well, this is the mixer I'm using today. And he would kind of describe how it sounds and how he likes it. And so there is that. And they're all different. You can't just expect them all to do the same thing.
And I think that's where my pitfall has been all these years, is because I keep anticipating to have consistency amongst all the mixers, but I'm now finding out that's just not the case.
No, it's really not. And analog mixers are way different than digital mixers.
Oh, I'm starting to figure that one out.
Yeah. I remember the very first time I got a digital mixer, because on an analog mixer, when you look at the gain knob, there's like a certain point where it's minus this, and then it goes up, and then it goes to plus. On a digital mixer, on an analog mixer, if you're right in the middle and you're not plus or minus, you sometimes get a pretty good sound with some things. On a digital mixer, if it's at 0, no plus or minus, you're not going to get anything.
Yeah.
It has to be plus. I noticed with my mixer, most Shure SM58s, they run anywhere from plus, say, 22 to plus 26. So depending on the person singing, depends on where I put the gain on that mic.
And so, like, with certain bands, as they're performing, especially like with singing and stuff like that, do you rely more on the musician being able to like move back and forth?
Oh, yeah.
Versus you having to sort of control the volume piece?
Some musicians have a big problem with their dynamics. And that can be a problem where I have to play with the fader, or I go into the compressor and start playing with it so I can take their hard hits and kind of soften them up. So when I turn it up for the softer stuff, I don't have to turn it back down for those. And it's a game. And other singers set it, forget it, and they're going to be perfect just the way they are. Yeah.
And so that's going to just depend on the singer and like their expertise and all that stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I work with everybody from people that do this like once in a while to people who have toured with opera companies.
Yeah.
And everybody in between. So, yeah, everybody's different.
I'm going to throw a scenario out there, and
Sure.
I just want to get your gut reaction because I encountered this one time. Imagine walking into a facility and they're saying, we're having massive sound issues and we can't figure out why. And you walk into this sort of classroom environment and you see that they have desk microphones underneath the speakers.
Oh. I've had plenty of conference things that were exactly that. I've had people walking around with a wireless when all the speakers are in the ceiling.
Yeah.
And as they get closer to a speaker, it's like, oh, here we go. And yeah, that is a problem. That's one of my things that I just, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because that is a problem I have bands. There was certain venues where bands would want to get up and jump up in front of, and they end up jumping up right in front of the speaker every time. And it's like, dude, don't get in front of the speaker. Get to the side of it. Don't get in front of it because it's going to be a problem. And then they do it anyway.
And feedback ensues.
And then it feeds back and they look at me like,
it's your fault.
Yeah, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude, I'm fighting it so it doesn't happen. But so if you ever get in front of the speaker, you probably won't hear yourself as well as when you're standing beside it, because I'm going to have to turn it down. I can't leave it at that same volume with you have it holding it in front of a big old huge speaker.
And that's the one rule, folks. Like, seriously, if you're at a live event or whatever, and you're even at your wedding, stay away from the speaker with the microphone. Biggest issue.
Yes, at weddings, I tell everybody that. Do not stand in front of the speaker.
The biggest no-no.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're in a conference room and you have the speakers right overhead, you have the mics right there. Yeah, it's a fun, you can do it, but you have to have strong speakers, because a weak speaker you're never going to get enough gain to be able to talk to them, hear them very well.
Yeah.
Especially if they get way back here and are afraid of their voice. Good luck.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen for you.
Yeah. They were dead microphones. So,
excuse me.
Oh, you're good. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it is a problem.
And so, in terms of like you're getting at the stage and sort of like you're putting this sort of sound together, what's the most common fault in a system? Like, do cables tend to go out first, or do mixers go out first? Like,
It's usually cables.
okay,
Actually, if you really want to know, the most common fault is user error.
okay,
Because I can tell you from experience with me, sometimes there is so much to set up that you forget one cable. One cable. And if you don't test everything before you start, you'll find out which cable it is after the band starts. And then it's a little late. But yeah, most of the time it's a cabling issue. It could be just anything as simple as maybe a phantom power issue. Oh, well, that's a condenser mic. It needs phantom power. We don't have that turned on, so we're not getting anything. Yeah, it's little tiny things that are mostly you can fix. But as far as problems, yeah, cables are probably the first one.
and how important is microphones?
They're important, but not, I've learned, not as important as you
Interesting.
might think.
Okay,
A Shure SM58 will do almost everything you could ever want it to do. It won't do everything perfect, but it will do everything. Where I had a singer who wanted to use one of these Shure mics like this, and he wanted to use it live on stage. Guess what didn't work?
the microphone.
Well, it just didn't work because he had live monitor in front of him, and you're trying to use one of these mics.
Oh, and they pick up too much.
Oh yeah, and he also had what's called a cloud lifter on it. You know what that is?
I do, but for listeners,
Cloud lifter adds more gain into the system because these mics supposedly, I've never had a problem with them, but supposedly these SM7s have a problem with gain.
okay,
They don't seem to have as much gain as what you would want.
especially in a live.
Yeah, well, I would never use one of these live.
Yeah,
I would use one of these for what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I would use one of these in a conference room. I would use one of these for pretty much anything like that. But I would never use one with a live band that has a bunch of monitors. It's just not designed for that. So yeah, microphone, that part of the microphone thing is important. But I use mostly Sennheiser mics. I like Sennheiser mics, so I use Sennheiser guitar mics, Sennheiser drum mics. I do use 58s for vocals because people could knock them over and knock them on the ground, and who cares? They're going to last. So
they're kind of drop proof at some point.
right, they're idiot proof, and that way I know they're going to survive.
And what about corded versus wireless?
Corded is always going to be a better signal. It's going to be a stronger signal, and it's always going to be there. Wireless mics, with all the wireless technology we have now and so many different bands and so many different frequencies, yeah, wireless mics can and will get interference every once in a while.
Oh, I saw that. It was so sad. I was at a blues competition,
Right.
and the first singer used a wireless mic, and it cut out
Yeah.
every 2 minutes.
Yep.
And
Or it would crackle and make that weird
yeah,
thing. And yeah.
it would just, for him, it just literally would go out for
Oh,
like
yeah.
a minute.
Yeah.
Every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think we figured out it was borrowing the same frequency as the wireless mics in the house venue.
Yeah.
And so it would switch between the receiver that it was supposed to the other receiver and back and forth. And I felt so bad.
I had that same issue just recently with one of the bands I work with, and the drummer was using an in-ear monitor system.
Yeah.
His wireless in-ear monitor system happened to be on the same frequency as a house wired microphone or a house wireless microphone.
Ah, yeah, okay.
So when it came time to do his monitors, I was trying to do the house. I was trying to get the band, quick line check, sound check, just a quick thing, just a preliminary. And I kept getting sound through the house speakers, and I could not figure out where it was coming from and why it was going in the house. I'm thinking microphone, what is it? We swapped the singer's wireless mic with a wired mic, still had the issue. And then when I finally found it, it was the drummer's wireless in-ear system was picking it up and broadcasting it. And yeah, of all things.
Right.
How do you find something like that? So I had to go into their back room and turn off that receiver so that we could do our gig. It worked because they did use a couple of wireless mics in between when they wanted to talk, but the ones they were using were not that particular receiver, so I could turn it off and we were fine.
Yeah, there's only so many frequencies.
There is.
So it's not like there's 1,000 different frequencies that you can have wireless mics on. They have,
each wireless mic has quite a few frequencies you could switch it to.
But like 10 or 12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'm thinking like one out of every 30 has got to be on the same frequency.
Yeah. Hopefully that one out of the 30 is in a different venue somewhere down the street.
Right.
We were in Alaska when our guitar player was picking up a radio station on out through his amplifier.
Whoa.
Yeah. That was fun.
How did you fix that?
We worked around it. We figured out something. We changed a few cables. We did what we had to do, but we managed to make it go away. But it's really fun listening to somebody talk on the radio and the music playing and the whole bit while he's trying to do his. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's a pain.
Yeah.
I use a router for my system.
Okay.
I had a bass player that was using a Line 6 wireless system for his bass. Well, we found out if my router's on 2.4 gigahertz, I have to have my router way on the other side of the stage from him, or he will keep disconnecting me. And his is a stronger signal so some reason I wouldn't disconnect him. He would disconnect me.
Fascinating.
So so we had to change frequencies because the router, you could change frequencies too.
Yeah.
And I found if I put it clear over here, and then afterward, I went ahead and got a dual band router, switched over to 5 gigahertz, and we never had a problem again. I could put the router right next to them, and who cares? They weren't going to fight.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because the same bandwidth, so on that 2.4 gigahertz on the router is got to be somewhat similar to the gigahertz. Oh.
Yeah, they're both 2.4 gigahertz. So they can interfere even if they're not even on the same channel.
That's okay. That explains so many things that I had no idea. Yeah.
Like I said, it can get complicated. Some of these bands that have 20 different microphones, I feel for them because that's a lot of work to keep that spread to where nobody's bothering anyone else.
And there's no way you could do that sort of by yourself. You would need at least a couple of extra hands for that many.
Yeah, you need a lot of extra people. And to be honest, most of that we're talking like wireless microphones for like plays or, that type of thing. Most bands, the biggest band I work with has 9 pieces of it.
Okay.
And they have, of course, 9 monitor mixes and all but 3 are wireless. So that's a little bit of a juggling act there. But nobody uses anything wireless as far as instruments. So lucky me. But yeah, if you get something big enough where you got a lot of people and they're all using wireless, yeah, that's something you need to put together in a whole different room before you do your first gig and sort everything out and test it and make sure everything's going to work like as advertised.
Yeah, and not test it 20 minutes before the show.
No, you don't have a guy walk in with a brand new wireless. I'm going to use this tonight.
That's kind of what happened with that the blues singer that I was talking about. They were not ready or anticipating. He just showed up like, I'm using this one tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, sound guy's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got you all set up. Well, I have one person that occasionally for their acoustic guitar will use a DI. Occasionally will use the DI with a wireless, and then occasionally will not use the DI and plug into an amplifier. Each one of those is a different gain structure. So I have to switch. It's like, okay, what are you using today? And then I know by now I know, okay, you're using the guitar amp. Okay, go in there, turn the gain down. Okay, for a jumping off point. If I leave it where it is for when it's plugged into the DI, it's going to feed back as soon as I unmute the channel. So another trick I've learned, always good for everybody, is when I get somebody to test their system, their guitar, their mic, anything, I have that channel muted. I have them talk into it, and I watch the input gain. And if it's jumping way up, I'll know I need to turn it way down before I even think of unmuting it.
Oh, that's a good point, because like you can see the levels before you actually send the signal.
Right. Well, you see, on my mixer, all the input levels, all the right after the gain are right there being displayed. So I could have him play guitar, and if I see that thing jumping up and hitting the red, boom, I go in there, go to the gain, bring it down until he's in the range that he's supposed to be in. And then I'll unmute it, and we can adjust his monitor, adjust him in the mains, adjust everything from there. But I've learned by experience, you don't just unmute it and go.
Yeah.
Because that's always a bad idea.
Yeah, one of the things that I've learned over the years, because I used to film live surgeries.
Interesting.
It was the coolest gig ever.
I'll bet.
And they built this entire elaborate infrastructure for the filming of surgeries. And one thing that I'm starting to notice when it comes to video in particular is that they don't put a lot of thought into the audio side until it's too late. And like so many people, performers, musicians, whatever, if you make sure that you have that conversation about audio in the beginning,
yes,
and you will avoid so many pitfalls.
It's funny, I'm on a lot of like audio forums on, like, say, Facebook and stuff, a lot of pages like that. And that's one of the things a lot of people will complain about is the video guys coming in, and it's like having subpar equipment and expecting miracles out of it. And they're looking at it going, oh, no, dude, you need this.
Yeah. I saw one system where they had the it wasn't even name brand. I can't remember the brand of the microphone, but it was like the $45 special.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
yeah, you can hear the difference.
It's so much difference just in the microphone. Yeah.
And what I hate is people recording a band when I'm working, and they use their phone or something, and then they put it on like Facebook, and it sounds horrible.
Yeah, I've been guilty of that a few times.
And I look at it, and it's like I go, oh, somebody recorded the band. Let me hear it. And I listen to it. It's like, God, no.
So is there a way to sort of tap into that?
They make microphones you could plug into a phone. They make extra stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody's always coming up with the next best thing to do that. So yeah, they actually make decent quality microphones you could plug into a phone, and you can record a band with it, and it sounds good.
Yeah, because like I stopped doing that. Like I stopped doing live feeds because the sound was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could find a way to get my phone tapped into the house mix, like we could do all kinds of cool things.
Or you could invest in something as simple as a small Zoom recorder. Those do really well.
Okay.
The ones that have the little crossed microphones on.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Yeah, those, you use one of those, and you can record the sound for a band really well. They work remarkably well for what they do.
Yeah, that was the first iteration microphone for this podcast, was one of those.
Yeah.
Doesn't work good for podcasts.
No, probably not. But you also have to remember too, when you're recording a live band, the sound pressure a lot different than if you're recording it, say, in this room. Yeah, you're getting a lot of sound pressure, it'll just saturate a regular microphone. And that's where your problem is.
You said sound pressure?
Yeah.
So what's sound pressure?
Well, the decibel level.
Okay.
Just the amount of energy coming out of those speakers, which you could consider it pressure. Yeah. That will saturate a microphone and it'll make it sound like crap. And it could be a really nice microphone, but if it's getting more than it can handle, it can't handle. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh, fascinating. And then in terms of like that mix too, right? So like in a live performance, because you say you have the tablet,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So does the tablet sort of interface with the mixer?
Yeah, like I said, I have a router.
Yeah.
And what happens is I put the mixer somewhere on stage. Everybody gets plugged into that. And then it's got a Cat5 cable going from it to the router. And then the router sends a signal to me on my tablet. So I'm wireless. And then I sit there with the tablet and I can do everything that mixer could do with the tablet. So instead of having a 4-foot wide analog board sitting out in the crowd with a cable running to it, power running to it, and all these extras that you have to add in to get to it, I have a little 12-inch tablet that I can just set on the table, and I have no wires running to me, and set up and tear down is way simpler.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And then the mixer itself, is it just an analog mixer that sends?
No, it's a digital mixer, and it's just sitting on stage.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of bands, even if they do have a front of house mixer,
yeah,
they'll go ahead and use a tablet and walk around the venue and use the tablet, but they'll use the mixer to get the sound check and get everything going because they've got their faders, their knobs, everything right there. And then they'll use the tablet to walk around and listen, because back in the analog days, you'd stand in the sound booth, get the sound going, walk out over here, listen to it, walk back over to the sound booth, adjust a knob or two, walk back out, listen, walk back in. Now you don't have to do that. Now you can take the tablet with you and you just walk over there and listen and go, oh, okay. And it'll do it for you.
And is the intended outcome to have sort of everybody at a same sort of level?
No. Every song is, I find I mix, every song that I mix with any band I work with is always going to have a slightly different mix. Certain songs, there's going to be a lot more guitar than there is bass. Some songs, if you listen to them, the bass is more prominent. You want the lead vocal more prominent than the backup singers, except for when everybody's singing in harmony. And then you want everybody, depending on the song, if the song requires the singer to be above them,
yeah,
you have to put them above them. Otherwise, everybody's singing the same. Think, like the Eagles, some of the stuff they do, Seven Bridges Road. Yeah, something like that. And I work with a band that does that song. So, yeah, you got to have that mix just right. You can't have one person a little bit more here, a little bit less here. You got to have them where they're supposed to be in that part. So, yeah, you don't just set it and forget it. Every single song gets a different everything. And my reggae band's even worse with that, because after he does a reggae song, he'll do some other type, like a soca or something like that. And he'll want the kick drum in a different, I don't want it prominent. I want less effects. I want this. Yeah. If he does ska, yeah, get rid of the kick drum, get rid of the effects, make everything really dry. And then when we do a reggae song, bring the kick back up, bring the bass back up, throw a ton of effects on the vocals. Yeah. So everything's different.
And is all this preset?
No. A lot of it, I used to, back when I was on the road.
Yeah.
And I had that big processing rack sitting next to the mixer. Yeah, I had a bunch of effects units, and they all had presets, but I had to know which preset for which song.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where if you're doing it enough, if you're doing it like me, I was doing it 6 nights a week. So after a while, you learn the song, and as soon as you know which song's coming up, boom, you set the effects and you're ready to go, and you know exactly what you're doing. But if you don't know the band, it's all guesswork.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I did a Foo Fighters tribute band. Good friend of mine, he hired me to do the show. I don't know the Foo Fighters. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they mix. Or I was just going with what sounded good.
Yeah.
And everybody seemed to like it, so I must have been on the right track. But yeah, sometimes, especially original bands, I don't know what they're trying. I don't know what their arrangement is, what they're trying to convey to the audience. So I have to guess. Unless they give me an album and say, "Here, learn this."
Do you prefer that?
I like to. I like getting stage plots. I like knowing what I'm walking into.
Yeah.
I like to know exactly where each member is going to be on the stage, because I set up before the band gets there. And if I know where they're at, I can have everything set up for them. They just walk in, set their amp down. I put a mic in front of it. They plug in, and we're good to go.
Boom, done.
Yeah. I don't have to wait for them to show up and then do everything, because I don't want to do that. So stage plots, and again, like what we're talking about, yeah, when it comes to the mix, yeah, if I could get somebody to shoot me an album and say, "Here, listen to this," so you familiarize yourself with our music. Yeah, I'll drive around when I'm doing my errands and stuff. I'll have that in playing in my car and just boating up on it and listening to it. So by the time I get ready to work with them, I know the songs.
So hear that. If you're a musician listening to this right now, get in touch with the venue and give them that information. Like, let them know, like, especially with the sound person, let them know where you're going to be on stage. Let them know the songs you're going to sing. If you have a set list already, send that their way. It'll make you sound better, and it'll make the job of the sound person so much better.
Yeah, my reggae band, he'll actually write down who's singing the song. He'll write down what kind of kick style he wants. He'll write down what kind of effects he wants. This guy, he writes all the music. He's got 9 albums out. The guy knows what he's doing. It's a reggae band I work with called Jaskamon. And he's very big on his arrangements coming out as he wrote them.
Yeah.
So it's not just the players that have to learn that. I have to learn it, because he's got repeats coming off of certain words on vocals that I have to know where those are and get it right, not only in the correct milliseconds so that it's slower than it's supposed to be or faster than he wants it. I have to get it just right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of work involved when you're trying to put a show like that together, especially an original show like that.
And I would imagine, too, like, it could change on the night, because sometimes musicians play slower or faster than they would want to.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that. Sometimes musicians will decide to just jam on a song instead of playing it as written. What's nice, though, is if you do this long enough, if you're with a cover band, as soon as they start the song, you've already heard it a million times, and you're right there knowing exactly what to do.
Yeah.
That's so, and what's fun is when it's a certain song that you know is going to be fun. It's got some really cool effects, got this going on in it, got that going on in it. And for me, that's like, oh, cool, we're doing this. And then I get to have fun because I get to participate all of a sudden.
And that's so much. And I can't stress the importance of that enough, of making sure that your sound person is having fun with you as the band.
Yeah.
Because like you said, that carries into the music, you know. I am a firm believer, and I know people are probably tired of me saying this, but music is a living thing.
It is. Yeah.
And to get that many people on the stage in unison, and to have the sound right, and to have this right, and to have that right, is such a Herculean effort.
And you only get one take.
Yeah, one shot.
Yep. It's not like in this studio where it's like, oh, let's do that again.
Yeah.
No, it's you do it. You either do it right. I mean, my reggae band, sure, there's a couple of times they've started a song and just stopped and said, let's do a rewind and then try it again and hopefully start it out correctly.
Yeah.
A lot of bands have that issue once in a while, but it's a live performance. You got to be there. I used to, way back when, back in the 80s, I used to get up and sing a couple songs with bands. I used to get up and play bass with bands. I used to get up and do that. So I'm on stage. I know what it's like. And there was one song in particular, the second verse. I could never remember it, ever. Every time I'd get up on stage, I'd have the mic. We'd go through that first verse. I'd walk over to the bass player, lead up to him, and I go, what's the first word? And he'd tell me that first word, and boom, okay, I'm on it. I know the rest of it. But that second, always the second verse, always the first word. Why is that? Why did my brain not connect that ever? Maybe I just got used to him telling me, so I didn't have to know. I don't know.
That's fascinating, though, because, like, I've wanted to be a singer for so many times. Like I love to sing. I can never remember the words unless the words are in front of me.
Right.
It's just not how my brain works. Like, it's just, that's part of my autism. And so I always am fascinated with people who can actually remember and sing at the same time, because that's so hard.
We used to, unless when we added a new song to our set list, they would have words down written on a piece of paper sitting by their monitor
See, that's what I
for
mean.
that song until they learned it, and then that would go away. And there are some people that play so many songs that, yeah, they have to have their little book right there on a music stand so they can page through and find that song so they know what they're doing. Because not everybody knows all the lyrics to all their songs. Back in the 80s when we were doing this, 6 nights a week, that wasn't a problem. Because you're literally every single night doing that.
Yeah.
It gets drilled into your head. Unless it's one certain song in that second verse or something. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, some people need the lyrics, some people don't. I find that if I try to do karaoke and I have to read the words, it throws me off on the song.
That happens to me from time to time, especially like when the words don't match the rhythm.
With me, yeah, it's like with me, because I don't know, because my brain's doing that split second thing of reading it and then singing it at the same time.
Yeah.
It seems to throw me off. But if I look at it and then look away and know what I'm going to be singing, I could do it right on because I'm not relying on that little bit of, latency.
That's a good point too, because like even when I do karaoke, I only like pay attention to the first word.
Yeah.
And then I have to let it go. Otherwise I'm just going to be off time.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to do it. I swear, even though it can't be possible, there's a little bit of latency there between reading the words and singing them.
Yeah.
It could very well be.
I think so. Yeah. A processing delay, if you will.
Yeah. I remember we played a place in Reno and our bass player was wireless and the sound booth was 150 feet away from the stage. He would come back just to hang out with me and be playing bass while talking to me while, here we are, we're supposed to be working, but yeah, let's have fun. And the other players would get mad at him because he'd be playing behind them because sound travels at a certain speed. You get that far away, all of a sudden what he's playing, they've already played.
Because he's off like by a split second.
There's that delay there So he's playing behind them the whole time, but he thinks he's right on because he's playing the notes they're playing as he hears them. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
And your brain might do the same thing when you're trying to read words.
Yeah. because by the time that signal goes to the TV back and all that, like, okay.
Yeah, I mean it's I don't know if I can't prove it. I have never tested it, but it just seems logical.
I'm on board.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I think. I have a weird way of thinking, and I always look at it from that standpoint.
So one of the things that sort of has been stewing around in my brain for quite some time, and this is a direct result of my friend Brandon Logan, who is
I know Brandon.
I love that.
Yeah,
that man. Oh my goodness!
I've worked with him many times. In fact, I just worked with him at the what is that? The Grand.
Oh yeah,
when they
so
did
you were there with Johnny.
No, he was there with Nikki.
Okay.
Yeah, they were doing.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was there running sound that night for that show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Such a small world. But one of the things that Brandon impressed upon me that I had no idea or any concept of is there's such a thing as too loud when it comes to music.
Yeah.
I didn't even think that was a thing.
Again, another one of my little pet things that I have to think about. I know when a band's too loud, but I have to mix on whatever. When I'm mixing, I have to mix to the lowest, whatever the noise floor is. I have to mix to that. If the drums are a certain volume, in order to make the band mixed around the drums, I have to adjust them. So if the drums are too loud, unfortunately, everything else has to be too loud.
How do you lower the volume on drums?
You don't hit them as hard.
But
okay. Drummers are enthusiastic people.
Yeah.
And even though they're not trying to be loud, even though even though they try to work with you, adrenaline, enthusiasm, that's how they play. They're into it, man. They're playing. They're into it. And that's not something that they can control easy. They're going to end up playing worse if they're trying to rein themselves in.
Because it's one of those instruments where the more control you try to apply, the worse it's going to get.
Yeah, let them be free. Let them be animal, man. Play them drums. But sometimes that's a little too loud. And there's not much. I love working outdoors just for the fact that there's no room to deal with. You can do whatever you want. I have full reign and control over everything. Where indoors, I have a room that's requiring me to work with it.
Something I saw recently at a venue in Seattle is they actually had the drums contained within a separate glass space.
Yeah, in a what we like to call behind the wall.
Yeah. That sounded a lot better, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And because they were able to control the actual volume of the drums.
Well, yeah. It's all it does is just prevent it from just coming straight at you.
Yeah.
I've done venues where the stage is here. My head is just barely above the bottom of the stage, and I'm out front. And you have a guitar player with a nice little Fender amp with a single 12, and it's aimed right at your face. Yeah, all you hear is guitar. It's just in your face. And if the guy was to just turn it slightly, or you move over, it's like all of a sudden, wow, this sounds so much better.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you get right in front of that amp and it's right there head level, that's why I try to get a lot of, one of my pet peeves is when people put their amp right behind them. And it's like, great, the back of your legs are loving it, but you have to turn it up louder so you can hear it.
Yeah.
So I had one guitar player, I said, here, let's try this. And I took his amp and put it on the side of him and tilted it. So it was aiming at his head. He loved it, and he didn't have any problem with the volume from there. He could be a lot lower volume, and it was fine. When I was traveling with my band Nemesis, both guitar players had their Marshall stacks on either side of the stage blowing in. They weren't facing the audience. The bass player played through a wedge monitor aiming at him. And everybody had their own monitor mix, and we had a separate monitor mixer. So everybody got everything. So if this guitar cabinet over here blowing this way, if the drummer couldn't hear it very well, it's in his monitor. He can hear it fine. Same with the bass. Well, the guitar player over here can't hear the bass because it's a little speaker aiming right at the bass player. Put it in his monitor. He can hear it. Everybody's happy. They can hear the whole band. So yeah, you have to adjust. And it's so much easier if you're not blowing the audience away with the stage volume. It's so much easier for the sound guy to put everything in the mix and mix it. Otherwise, what I'm doing is everything but one guitar, and I'm working around it.
Oh, and that's different.
So I'm stacking stuff around this one thing. I'm not mixing everything. I'm stacking on that one particular thing that is a bit more than what I want. And with me, I try to make the band as quiet as possible, but still sound full. I prefer to go that route than to just crank them up and just let's rock this. Yeah. Let's not. Let's let people walk out of here and still be able to hear with their ears not ringing.
Yeah, because I know like Brandon's really, he really focuses the band on trying not to break 100 decibels.
Yeah.
He's like, the sweet spot is like around that 90.
People love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds better.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you can make a band sound really full at a lower volume, and they just sound wonderful. But if you're pushing everything to the limit, and everything's just at that, yeah. And another thing you'll find interesting. I've also learned that higher frequencies, if you're in a club and you're playing, your band's playing, and if there's a lot of high piercing frequencies in that music, it's going to cause a lot of fights. If you've got a lot of bottom end where you've got tons of kick drum and a lot of oomph with the bass and the kick drum, and then everything built around that, people are dancing and having fun because they're into the beat. They're feeling it. But if you got that crap piercing your head, it's going to aggravate you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like the difference between like how you organize like a blues performance versus a heavy metal performance.
Right.
Where you're you're trying to be aggressive. You're trying to be.
Yeah, but you don't want it to be piercing. There's certain frequencies that are just not good.
Okay.
And if you can get those frequencies to mesh with everything else and blend in and not be overbearing, then you can make it work. You can still have that driving guitar, but it's not hurting you.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all a puzzle.
That's so fascinating. And the other piece that I just recently discovered that I guess I should have known is the difference in the sound an amp makes versus the old 1960s tube era versus like these electric ones that you sound now.
Yeah.
It wasn't until again, Brandon, I think it was that show hooked up his guitar to a 62 and is like, oh, that sounds way different.
Yep.
And no wonder music doesn't sound like it sounded back in the day if you're not using an amp that sounds back in the day.
Well, there was also back in the day when they were recording onto tape. They were recording with tube amps. There was a lot of, it sounded warm, but there was a lot of extra stuff in there. And that, when you get rid of that extra stuff and clean it up and make it sharper and more distinctive, yeah, it's not going to sound the same. Analog has its warmth. People say it, and I agree to a point.
Yeah.
But to me, digital is so much easier to work with.
100%.
It just is.
100%.
And a lot of people don't like that. They've got to have their tubes. And I get it, because our keyboard player in Nemesis, we did a lot of Boston songs. Boston uses a Leslie organ. You cannot play those songs without a real Leslie. Back then, there was no fake Leslie.
Yeah.
A Yamaha DX7 could not emulate, even though it was a sampler, could not emulate what you could do with an actual Leslie. It just, you couldn't do it. So our keyboard player, we dragged around this big box that was a Leslie along with his Krumar organ. And so we did the old school way.
Interesting. Do they have ones now that sort of mimic that noise?
Yeah,
kinda.
Well, yeah, they do. And a lot of them are really close. And a lot of them are extremely close. Organ sounds are so much more improved. But again, it just doesn't quite get there. And some people are so purist that they won't allow anything but that. And to be honest, in my opinion, when you're doing a show at a club, at a venue, and you're playing, there's probably, if there's 300 people in there, there's probably one or two people that might be going, that just doesn't sound like a real Leslie. Where everybody else is just going, oh, yeah, I love this song. And they don't notice.
Yeah.
So there's a certain point where you have to go, how real do I have to make it, or can I get away with this?
And more often than not, if you're talking about a live performance, no one assumes or
well,
wants perfection
there's so much going on, so many open mics, so much of this that, yeah, there are times that you won't even be able to notice it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you have to really listen for it, and then you might not notice it unless you have compared side to side. Because I've worked with I have a Behringer XR18. My reggae band was using a Midas MR18. The Midas has got a little bit hotter. All the preamps are a little hotter. It's supposedly a little bit better sounding. But everybody says in a live situation, yeah, you'll never notice it. Well, you know what? In a live situation, no, you would never notice it. But if you're using both and you're switching between the two,
oh, you can tell.
You will notice it.
Yeah.
You'll notice, yeah, when I'm using that mixer, it's like, okay. And then when I'm using mine, it's like, yeah, it's good enough, but it's not quite on the same level. Not enough to where most people would notice. It's just the fact that I get to A-B them. I'm fortunate to be able to A-B them and see what the difference is. If I was using just the XR18 and never touched the MR, I'd never know.
And then you're talking about the term you used was like warmer.
Yeah.
Can you explain to people what you mean by warmer?
Warmer is, I guess the best way I would describe it is softer.
Okay.
It doesn't have an edge to it. Warmer is the difference between a nice fluffy pillow and like a memory foam thing. It's, yeah. They both serve the purpose, so both get you by. But yeah, it's a smoother sound. It's warmer. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just smoother.
So if I'm thinking like, because I always think in analogies, right?
Yeah.
The difference between like Megadeth and Tool.
Right.
Where Tool is very warm, very muted,
yeah,
so that you can hear every single note.
Yeah, lots of compression, lots of this, lots of that. Yeah, they plan it that way to where it sounds like that. Where somebody else, guitar player, will walk in and plug into a Marshall head, and that's all he's going to do.
Yeah, he just wants to be loud and thrash.
It's going to be, I want this amp to sound like it's supposed to sound. I don't want anything in between my guitar and that amp.
Yeah.
I want that amp to sound like what it's supposed to sound like. And other people will put in a bunch of different stuff with compressors and reverbs and, EQs.
All
and
those pedals.
All the pedals and stuff. And they'll shape it the way they want it. Some people don't want to shape it.
Does that make your job easier if they have a bunch of pedals, or does it make it a little harder?
what makes my job easier when they have pedals is they know what they want their guitar to sound like. And they have the stuff to make it sound like that. All I have to do is reproduce it.
Okay.
With a guy that's got a straight ahead head going straight out, then if he wants it to sound a certain way, he's got to adjust his amp for it, or I've got to adjust a little bit the EQ to kind of shape it the way it's supposed to be, because my microphone may not work perfectly and make it exactly like it's supposed to sound. So yeah, there's a little bit more work there. But I've noticed I don't like it when vocalists use their own effects thing, because I pride myself on the fact that I know what I'm doing with effects. I'll make you sound good. Don't worry about it. I got you. Where guitar players, yeah, bring your own effects, because I don't know when you want to use a flange when.
Yeah.
I don't know that. That's all on you. So, yeah.
Well, Stein, we've been at this for an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So I guess one of the questions we'll close with is something I always ask musicians also when I do them on this podcast. When the show's over, how do you want people to approach you?
How do I want people to, I don't mind how people approach me at all, as long as they're not overbearing. And come up, say hi, talk to me. Let's talk. But I'm in a little bit different position. As soon as we're done, I'm tearing stuff apart.
Yeah.
I want to get that stuff tore apart, packed up and loaded and be on my way. Time is money. And there are times that it's like, yeah, I know a lot of people there. It's like, yeah, I'll hang out and talk. But I'd much prefer if I hung out and talk after the band's loaded, because then I'm not worried about it.
And that's exactly why I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. Where musicians can hang out and talk before they tear down. They don't, drummer maybe has a lot to work with, but a guitar amp, guitar pedal board, yeah, it's pretty easy to tear down. So you could hang out and talk, and that's cool. I like it when people get to interact, because at higher levels, you don't get to talk to the musicians. They're done and they're out of there. And unless you have a backstage pass or something, you don't get to talk to them. Where a little bit lower level, yeah, you get to interact. And I think that's cool.
I love it.
Yeah. In fact, I love working with local bands so much that on a lot of my break time set lists that I have, the playlists that I play during breaks, have a ton of Northwest bands that I play their music. I sprinkle in some commercial stuff with it, but I play their music on breaks because I like it that much.
Yeah.
And I want other people to hear it.
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, because I like it. Why wouldn't anybody else like it?
It's one of the main reasons I started this podcast was to talk to musicians that haven't made it yet.
Right.
Because it's fascinating to me, just because they're still able and willing to have that conversation about the music.
Exactly.
And it hasn't got to the point where they're like, I have 15 minutes to talk.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride too. Yeah. Do you ever find yourself like pinching yourself, like sort of like that imposter syndrome?
I did when I got to do national tours.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. All I did was walk in there, look at everything already set up for me, adjust a couple of things where I want it, and I had a system engineer that already had the room already taken care of. The PA's already set up. All I got to do is just mix the band. And then when I'm done, I'm done. I don't have to do monitors. I don't have to do, they got a monitor engineer. Everything's covered. All I do is my job and nothing else. And then I walk away and we have these other guys tearing it down and loading it up.
I love that.
And you don't get much better feeling than that. That's the way it is for the musicians when they, every musician's on a bell curve.
Yeah.
They get up to a certain point and then they start going back down the other side. When you get up to the top of that bell curve and you're doing that kind of thing, it's amazing. You just feel like you're on top of the world. You're as happy as you can be, and you're as friendly as you can be, because look at what
Life's good.
Look at what I get to do. I get paid to have fun. When we be going to a gig, one of the musicians would be like, "Oh man, it's time I have to go play." Where everybody else is like, "Oh man, I got to go to work." Oh no, not us. Oh man, we got to go play. We got to go have fun. Yeah, it's a tough life, I tell you. I was fortunate to be on the road for almost 12 years.
That was that must have been fascinating.
I literally didn't have a home. I lived on the road. I lived in hotels and band houses, and sometimes in people's basement. But
do you remember the biggest concert you ever did?
The biggest concert I ever did?
Yeah.
I got to work with a lot of cool people.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to do, big major arenas.
Okay.
I was always working with people that had already hit the top of the bell curve and were kind of coming down, but big names nonetheless. I worked with Barry Manilow. I worked with Sade. I worked with Herman's Hermits. I got to work with a lot of people, country music artists, Dr. Hook. I got to work with a lot of people.
That's so amazing.
And it was fun. It was nice to be able to work with that type of people and see how that goes. And
sounds like so much fun.
And the only thing is, though, you get spoiled in this business. And I can't go to a concert now because I can't get backstage. I don't have all access. And it bugs the crap out of me that I don't have all access. It's like, but I want to go over there and check that out. I want to go check out the whole system. I want to be everywhere. I want to crawl all over the place.
You and me both. Like, I want to be like, I actually just got back from Vegas. I flew to Vegas to be like with a band, just to have that sort of access, if you will. Because you're right. It's such a unique experience to be behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And just because I love watching the sauce get made.
Yep.
Like,
exactly.
I would go to a practice every day of the week if I could.
After I got off the road, I decided, unlike a lot of people, I need a retirement because I just spent all that time not paying into anything. And if I don't do something about it, I'm going to regret it later in life. So I ended up working for the state of Oregon. And part of that was doing maintenance for the state of Oregon and being able to go in all those buildings. And don't think I didn't check every nook and cranny, the penthouse up there, the mechanical rooms. The state library has a separate section that is a different section from the rest of it, and the floors don't even line up. And that's where they store all the books. They call it the stacks.
Yeah.
And you go in there, you can get lost.
Wow.
First time I went in there, it took me a half hour to figure out how to get back out because I lost my way. It's just so I love getting involved and seeing every little minute detail of how everything works. I've always been that way since I was a kid. Used to take my toys apart. Yeah, I've always been like that. So to be able to be there and be part of the whole thing, that's great. And then when you're denied, it's like, wait, no.
Why did that change?
No, I want to do the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, Steimy, thank you so much for this interview today. This was awesome.
Great.
And I'll end my podcast the way I always end it. We all live on the same planet. We share the same air. Be kind, people. Like, we need each other. We rely on each other. Steimy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.